video about the marvelous topic we call Greek astronomy. Several thousand years ago, in a time called the Hellenistic period, ancient Greece made huge advancements in technology, art, poetry, and construction. However, the most astounding of these advancements was the ancient Greek observation of the surrounding universe and its celestial contents. Early Greek philosophers and astronomers studied both the stars, known as astronomy, and the origin of the universe, known as cosmology. The theories they suggested about space were surprisingly accurate, and a great deal of what we know today about our surrounding universe comes from these Greek predictions. There were tons of Greek astronomers, but I'm only going to go over a few. First, there was Claudius Ptolemy. Ptolemy was both an astronomer and mathematician, and he believed that Earth was the center of the universe. This theory was known as a geocentric theory because the Greek word for Earth is geo, and of course we can assume that the word centric means center. So it's loosely translated to centered around Earth. This theory was based off both astronomy and mathematics. Ptolemy used math, specifically geometry, and the movements of the stars to predict and describe the movements of the planets. Ptolemy believed that the planets moved in epicycles, or small circles in which the centers move around the circumference of larger circles. Earth itself was part of, and moved along, an equant, or a circle that was located around the center of a larger circle that Ptolemy believed was the universe. So, to explain it simply, Ptolemy believed the universe was positioned with circles, on top of circles, on top of more circles, on top of even more circles. To preserve his geocentric idea, Ptolemy created a famous book called the Almagestae. This book was used for centuries later to describe the stars and placement of the universe. Next, there came an astronomer named Aristotle. Aristotle is often considered the grandfather of science because of his aspiring ideas. Aristotle also believed the geocentric theory introduced by Ptolemy, but he further expanded that idea. He believed that these stars and planets must have been circular because their movements were in perfect circular unison, and if their movements were circular, they could go on forever. This belief is false, of course, because our solar system is actually shaped quite differently. However, Aristotle was so respected and his ideas seemed so correct at the time that they were taught for ages after he died. Aristotle is one of the biggest observers in history. He was one of the first people to study plants, animals, and humans in a scientific way. Because of his studies, he believed that there are 4 elements in life: fire, air, water, and earth. To him, there was no such thing as void space. Any and all space was considered a mixture of the elements. This elemental idea was widely accepted because it proved to be true. For example, when you boil the element water, you get steam, which seemingly looks like air. Later, Aristotle introduced a 5th element called ether. He came up with this element because the stars that he saw in outer space couldn't have been made from earthly elements. Aristotle also thought that each of the 4 elements had weight. Earth was the heaviest, water less so, fire less so, and then air was the lightest. Any change in the world at the time was considered to be a result in the mixing of the elements. Well over 1,000 years after Aristotle, a cosmologist named Nicholas Copernicus introduced his heliocentric system. The word helio in Greek means sun, and this theory placed the sun at the center of our solar system. Copernicus also believed that the Earth rotates on its axis, which is actually a pretty accurate theory. However, his ideas were too different from the rest of the world's beliefs at the time for young scholars to accept them. Those who did study and follow Copernicus often had to do so in private. These people were called Copernicans. Finally, there was Galileo Galilei. Galileo was a brilliant student who opposed Aristotle's ideas, and he actually believed that the universe was formed much differently. To prove this, he created a telescope that can enlarge an object by 20 times its normal size. Using this telescope, he was able to prove the truth in the heliocentric system. However, his publishings of these true facts were different in theory from those taught at the church, and so he was brought to trial. Even though he made a confession of wrongdoing, Galileo was put under house arrest for the rest of his life. To the misfortune of the church, his ideas were already published in the world and it was too late to erase them. These beliefs were used by other scientists such as Isaac Newton and Johannes Kepler. These early Greek astronomers contributed a lot to the way we think now about our surrounding solar system. If it weren't for these amazing observations by the Greeks, we wouldn't know about the shape, formation, or composition of our universe. Thank you for listening to this video.